My name is Bryan Collins. I'm the athletic director at CW Post, LIU Post as it's called now. And I want to welcome you to the 8th Hall of Fame banquet. And I want to wish congratulations to the class of 2013. Eugene, Lori, Coach Galizzi, John, Coach Chernock, and Trish. Congratulations. This class is extremely unique. We have 2 coaches in this induction, and not only are these coaches the greatest that ever coached at CW Post, but these 2 coaches are the finest that have coached in this country. And so that is very unique that we're not only honoring successful coaches at Post, but these guys have gone beyond this campus. Our first inductee this evening is Eugene Larkin, men's soccer. Eugene was co-captain of his team. He became LIU Post, at that time CW Post, men's soccer first All-American ever, as he was named to the 1990 All-American team. He was also named to the 1990 Academic All-American team. He was also, at the time, the NICAC Conference Most Valuable Player in 1990. He's a 3-time first team All-Conference player, and Eugene's gone on to unbelievable success coaching at the professional level.
First of all, I would like to say what an honor and privilege it is to be invited here this evening as one of the 6 inductees for Long Island University Post Hall of Fame. In particular, I would like to start by thanking Bryan Collins, Matt Gershaw, Nancy Livingstone, and anyone who's been involved in organising this prestigious event. I would also like to congratulate the other inductees this evening, Laurie, Trish, Tom, Roy, and John. When I received the phone call from Bryan Collins in March, my feelings were a mixture of shock, disbelief, and unbelievable happiness. When I looked at the Hall of Fame website, I was in total awe of the people who have already been inducted. I also thought perhaps this could be a trick by one of my New York friends. So I didn't tell anyone for about 2 weeks. When I told my family and friends, they were obviously as proud as myself, and especially my brother, who coached me at a youth level and made sure everybody knew in the local bar. And when I walked into the bar a couple of times, people came up to me and asked me for my autograph. And I thought, yeah, quite like this. I think I could get used to being a Hall of Famer. Before I move forward with acknowledgements and some memories and experience of my time at Post and New York, I would just like to give you a brief summary of my background and how I came to Post. I'm from a town called Middlesbrough in the northeast of England. Probably the closest city is Newcastle. It's an industrial town. I left school at 16 with minimal qualifications and was directed to get an apprenticeship as a welder plater in a local shipyard, building units for ships, more or less cargo ships. If ever there was a place you had to be on your toes and grow quick, this is the place. I'm not sure if being called Eugene helped working in a shipyard full of steel workers. I served my 4-year apprenticeship and got employment working on an oil rig, and for 1 year performing my trade. It was while I was on the oil rig I decided this wasn't the life I wanted to continue with. My thought was life is too short, and the amount of time we spend working, I need to have the opportunity to do a line of work which I could enjoy, and hopefully if I made some money that was good also. With this in mind, I enrolled at a local college and gained the qualifications to get me up to a level where I could gain entrance into an English university to begin with. I always liked the teaching and coaching. I thought if I go down the physical education route, that's what I would enjoy. and hopefully I could continue, that's my career path. But prior to committing to an English university, I got an opportunity to come to New York and coach at soccer summer camps. It was during my visit I started looking at soccer scholarships, and I played in a number of games for coaches from the East Coast so they could evaluate me and see if I was at the level for a scholarship. Post, with along with a couple of other universities, offered me a scholarship. I chose Post not only for its beautiful campus and its proximity to Manhattan, but I had a good feeling about the people at Post, and they also offered the opportunity to study physical education and business administration. Although not an easy decision to leave England and my family, I decided it was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity that I could not miss. I gained a partial scholarship and was thrown straight in at the deep end as a resident assistant in the main corridor of Riggs Hall, looking after the international students, including some of Tom Galease's basketball players. There was Big Carlos Valentin, Jojo Gums, and I think the housing directors must have thought, because of my background, I could handle the athletes. In turn, I thought, if I get to know Big Carlos and Jojo Gums and have a few quiet words, they would ensure Riggs Hall would run smoothly. A few hiccups here and there, but if I had any trouble, I knew I had the backing of Big Carlos. I remember my first day at pre-season and I learned a new word: rookie. As you've probably realised by now, I was a couple of years older than my new teammates. But obviously there was no quick promotion to not carrying the soccer balls and the pennies and getting the water. I didn't mind that. I knew I had to gain respect of my teammates. Plus I didn't mind the name rookie, quite liked it. I remember my first game for Post was against Hofstra. I got the feeling that some of the guys thought it was going to be a difficult game. I mentioned some of the players to look out for. This helped me focus on the game, and I'm sure like a lot of athletes, I began thinking about the game a couple of days before to ensure I was in that kind of game zone. With it being the first game, I could feel the pressure on myself. I knew there was an expectancy to perform. Remember it being a beautiful day, field looking in great condition as it usually did, and a decent crowd provided an excellent setting for the game. The game proved to be as difficult as the guys imagined, but we managed to come out as 2-1 winners. When the final whistle blew, there was a sense of joy for winning, but also a relief the game was over and we came out with a win. The happiness of the coaching staff, supporters and players gave me massive satisfaction. It was great to get off to a good start, and I was already starting to feel at home Post, and it was the start of 4 incredible years. All other teams had more success after my time. I would like to think that during my years at Post, that my teammates and I provided a foundation of success in future years that followed. With this in mind, I would like to acknowledge the men's and women's soccer programme who have made great strides over the last couple of years by reaching the NCAA tournaments. Although I don't know Andreas and Mark that well, I get a good feeling they're good people and obviously moving the soccer programmes in the right direction. So thanks Andreas and Mark, and hopefully with continued support and continue to move the programmes forward. During my time at Post, I would also like to thank the following people. My coach in the first year was a guy by the name of Klotz-Swegler, and at that time the athletic director was Vin Salomon. Thank you, Paul and Vinny, for providing me with the opportunity to come and play soccer for CW Post, as the name was at the time. The head coach during my remaining 3 years was a person called Paul Riley. Although Paul could not make it tonight, I would like to thank him for managing to get that extra bit out of me and the team with his coaching methods, and to ensure he got the best out of us on game day. Paul was assisted by a gentleman called Bob Blitz. I'm sure that people who knew Bob would have regarded him as a very special person. From what I understand, he was that special they actually named the soccer field after him. To me, Bob was a truly top-class person, and I feel lucky I got to know him. Not only did he do a great job on the soccer team, but was always on hand to assist if I or any of the soccer team needed help with academics. Another person who was on hand to help with academics was on the photographs, and he's possibly the most intelligent person I've ever met, was a poor soccer player called Jukka from Finland. Jukka was that smart, he studied a double major, and even the lecturers listened to him. Jukka was also a teammate at Post, a great friend, and I would like to thank you for being there to provide help that I needed while studying for my degree. Just continue with academics, along with Bob and Jukka. I would also like to acknowledge the academic staff at Post, in particular Health and Physical Education Department, who provided a challenging yet interesting programme, and the staff were always on hand if you needed extra support and guidance. I would like to thank all my teammates who I played with during my Post years, and without them I would not have achieved any of these soccer accolades that I got nominated for, and had such a tremendous experience. A special mention to two of my teammates here tonight who sat on the soccer table. Ashley Fothergill, who I've known for around about 25 plus years. I knew Ashley while in England, and he came across the Post in my last year. Not only is Ash a class act, but a truly great friend, and has been very supportive in my time in New York and UK. Vinny Longo. Hi Vinny, you alright?
I'm good.
Vinny and I played together for a couple of years. Not only was Vinny a great player, but someone you could trust and knew was going to give 100% every game. And I don't think anybody enjoyed his time at Post more than Vinny. His work ethic still continues, and he's the driving force by organising the Soccer Alumni events. So Vinny, on behalf of everyone, would just like to say thank you. I would also like to acknowledge the backroom staff at Post during my time. Evan Merlins, I know I've seen Evan tonight, and the athletic trainers who ensured we were back on the field in good time, and if you picked up an injury, kept us in good spirits. I'd also like to thank Frank Venturino, Alf Venturino and Bob Sugar, who always provided us with a good sense of humour and kept me and the soccer team on our toes if we stepped out of line. Just with the soccer table over there, I'd just like to mention a few people sitting at the soccer table tonight. I've got Richard Nuttall, who is the head men's soccer coach at Hofstra. Just to let you know, when I graduated from Post, Richard then invited me to be the assistant coach at Hofstra, whereas I went and done my master's degree in education, had some great years there. And I've got to let you know, my first soccer game was against Hofstra, and it was Richard's first soccer game as a coach. Unfortunately, Perth Post came out on top. I hope you don't mind, Richard. There's a gentleman sat on the table called Kevin Ferrari. He's the president of Massapequa Soccer Club. During my years at Post and Hofstra, I got involved in numerous soccer clubs. I got involved in the Olympic development programs, but I had a total of 15 years at Massapequa Soccer Club. And hopefully I had a big role to play in the development of the players. So Kevin, please pass on my thank you to the Massapequa people for putting the trust in me for their children. Also on the trail there's Simon Ridio. Simon's the head women's soccer coach at Hofstra. Simon, when I went to Hofstra, was one of the players. And when I was doing Massapequa, one of my philosophies was to try and get the best trainers available. So I've got Simon Ridio, some of you may know Drayson Hounsome, ex-Post, now Ryder, Wayne Fortino, ex-St John's. All those guys helped me at Massapequa to, I think it's got about 2,500 children in it. So they helped us tremendously and give the children a good experience and make my life a bit more easy and enjoyable. There's one other guy just sat on again here. This is Rory McEldowney, a great friend who's got a wicked Irish sense of humour, and I'd like to thank him also. Last but not least, I would like to thank all my family and friends and soccer coaches who I played for back in England before coming to Post. They've been very instrumental and very supportive before and during my New York experience, and they're all extremely proud of my induction into the CW Post Hall of Fame. All in all, I would say that studying and playing soccer at LIU Post has been the catalyst to the person I am today. My time at Post allowed me to take a different career path, and the opportunity to make friends and many great people in the United States and various parts of the world. CW Post has provided me with an unbelievable experience, unforgettable memories. It's something I would never swap. From the bottom of my heart, thank you to the Hall of Fame committee members for voting for me to receive this prestigious award and invite me back home to be with the LIU CW Post family. Thank you very much indeed. I appreciate it.
Next up, we're going to get to know Lori Klotz-Swegler. Volleyball, 1983 to 86. Lori was selected all-tournament after the All-State tournament and awarded the Coach's Award after her sophomore season. She had such a great sophomore season, she was named captain for her junior and senior seasons. At the end of her senior year, she was awarded the Coach's Award, the MVP of the volleyball team, and the outstanding female athlete from the LIU Post Athletic Department.
Oh my goodness. I can't believe I'm here this evening. You just saw my family on the screen, former players, wonderful moments here at CW Post. I'm going to read from a script. I'll do my best, and I want to share the love of volleyball as I've had over the years. Thank you for your kind introduction, Bryan Collins, and I want to extend a congratulations to all the honorees here this evening. For those who do not know me, I was a 4-year volleyball player at Post known as Klotzy, and that was my maiden name, and I inherited that in high school actually because there were 2 Loris by the first name, so my coach decided to call me Klotzy. I played the setter position, which is considered the quarterback of a volleyball team. I have wonderful memories from my years playing here, and some of the outstanding moments I love are the West Point tournaments, where we got to sit in the dining halls with the cadets and just enjoying the meals and seeing how they were treated there. But just high-level caliber of playing, and Midwest teams and out West teams, and just top level compared to a Division II school. During our season, we also had the opportunity to play against Hofstra, which was a Division I school in my second year of playing, and we almost beat them in 5 games. And that was before rally scoring, so we won. We did not win, but within the 5 games, we came very close. And they never came back into our league again. Now I wish to share with you tonight how my journey began to be invited here this evening for tonight's dinner and event. A few months ago, my husband received a phone call at a volleyball tournament that our oldest daughter was participating in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. And my husband was sitting across from me from a food court, and he told me that it was the athletic director from CW Post, Bryan Collins. I said, take a message. It's probably a call for a donation. And my husband across the table sensed it was more important than a donation, so he made me take the call. Bryan introduced himself and said he was the bearer of good news and that I was selected by the Hall of Fame committee to be inducted at this year's Hall of Fame event. I felt as if it were the initial phone call I received originally from Devin Torsher, my first-year coach at Post, sharing with me that I received a volleyball scholarship. There were so many emotions at that moment, tears, excitement, and just honored to know. I was still remembered 30 years later. And I've been recognized for my I left an athletic impression for my career at Post. The real journey started in my middle school years and high school years at Oceanside High School, or Oceanside School District. I was truly grateful to be with a group of wonderful athletes transitioning from season to season, playing basketball, soccer, volleyball, and softball. My middle school coach, Roxanne Zimmett, once said, pointing her finger at me, volleyball will get you somewhere, someday. She sensed more talent in me than I did back in the 70s. Moving on to high school, I was privileged to be coached by Sam Torgan in multiple sports, achieving 3 county championships, 1 for softball and 2 other in volleyball. He encouraged a few members of the volleyball team to try out for the Empire State Games the summer of 1982. Even though I was not selected, this was my introduction to the future Post coach, Devin Torsher. My senior year, Coach Torgan took me to watch a Post match, and then notified me of tryouts for the team. Coach Torsha remembered me from the Empire tryouts and was impressed how much I improved my skills over my senior year. Shortly thereafter, I received a phone call offering me a spot on the team and a scholarship, which I gladly accepted. So I spent countless hours playing volleyball all my life in my high school years, and my dad would always ask, "What is volleyball going to get you?" in his sarcastic way. Rest his soul. Well, Dad, here it goes. Volleyball provided me with a college education. I started as a business major at Post, but was influenced by a teammate, Chrissy Urban, who could not be here this evening, on our multiple road trips. That studying to become a teacher sounded more intriguing to me than business. I changed my major, and now completing my 23rd year as an elementary teacher in the Oceanside School District. So, Dad, I received an education and a successful career. Once again, what did volleyball get you, or where is it going to get you? Lifelong friends. By the way, who have all been volleyball coaches throughout high school CYO programs, and we've continued playing together on adult leagues many years after graduating, and attending alumni games as well. My first official practice at CW Post at the Colony Gym, I met a junior player, Debbie Smith, who is with us tonight. She became my big sister and still is my best friend today. We still attend volleyball tournaments, but now they are strictly for our children. We constantly reminisce about the good old days. Lindeen, also a former player who is here this evening, had a great competitive spirit and always supportive and always showed a positive role in her playing. And her dedication as a player was always remembered. Linda Montgomery, another player who was here this evening, was a pleasure to get to know, knowing we shared the same German culture, so we kind of spoke in secret code. She is over 6 foot and a setter's dream to run a fast offense. I was considered a short player, 5'8", so when the tall ones came in, I'm like, front line offense. I thank her for her continued friendship throughout the years. However, I truly thank her for a phone call that I received on my 30th birthday. Back to my dad, what he always asked, what is volleyball going to get you? Linda called me to ask if I could play as a substitute on a league on my birthday. I accepted. Boy, am I glad, because there was some tall male player who actually took over my setting position as I watched from the sideline. After the game, the team went out and I had a pleasant conversation with my rival setter. We talked about family, traveling, and he even analyzed my handwriting on a napkin that evening. We left each other with impressions of one another, and now we are happily married for 16 years. I love you, Bart. Say, Dad, I got a husband through volleyball. So we also have 2 beautiful daughters, Natalie, who's 14, and Maggie, who's 11 years. They're both following the volleyball pathway, attending camps, clinics, and enjoying the competitive spirit, team camaraderie. It's fun as parents to witness the cycle starting all over again. Another person who I wish to acknowledge this evening is my second coach from CW Post, Rosa Tirado, who is here this evening. I played for her for 3 years. She taught me to be mentally tough and physically prepared. I thank her always for her support during my years at Post and appreciate you being here this evening. Mary Hegman, also a guest of mine this evening, who is a co-worker of mine. She's here to celebrate the milestone in my athletic career. She has always been supportive throughout the years as a teacher and helps me to keep my sanity dealing with 70 fifth graders on a daily basis. As we nurture the next generation of players, I look back to how my family was and is nurturing to me. My sister Carol, also here tonight, followed my athletic career from the start. She continues to be supportive, having hosted us for 5 months after Hurricane Sandy destroyed our first level of our home. She kept our family on a regular schedule and gave us some source of normalcy. Now that we are home, we truly miss her cooking and especially her laundry service. I love you, Carol, and thank you for always being there for me and for our family. My brother, Carl, spent most of my college years in the Air Force, and he did attend a few matches in the DC area when he worked at the Pentagon in the 80s. Just last night, he was teasing me. He said all inductees had to wear their former uniforms and wanted to know if I could still fit into it. He lives in Fort Wayne, Indiana, and could not be with us this evening, but he calls me constantly and he congratulates for this honor this evening. And last but not least, I thank both my parents for providing their love and support throughout my athletic career and teaching me the value of hard work. My father is not with us. He passed away my senior year of college, and my mother is currently in a nursing home with dementia, so she could not be here this evening. But I did share with her and whispered to her and told her all the great joys that have happened over the past couple of months. I personally want to thank the Hall of Fame committee for nominating me, Bryan, Collins, Matt, and Nancy for the behind-the-scenes work, and the athletic department for all their support during my years at Post. And I am proud to be a CW Post alumni and to have represented the women's athletic program over the years. I will always be a pioneer at heart, and I thank you for this honor tonight. And Dad, it's official, I'm a Hall of Famer.
Chernock. Head coach, cross country, track and field, 67 to 73. Unbelievable career. Coached 39 All-Americans at LIU Post. He had a track and field regular season record of 42-1 and coached LIU Post first undefeated team in 1968. Coach, if I get it wrong, I know you're going to tell me. He coached 5 individual NCAA champions. He won 4 men's cross-country CTC championships, 68, 69, 70, and 73. And he won 2 Met IC conference championships in 72 and in 73. Coach Chernock's teams won 5 consecutive indoor men's track and field CTC championships, 68 and 70 through 73. His teams also won 4 outdoor championships, CTCs, in 69 through 71 and in 73. He also won in 1970 and 71 2 NCAA regional championships.
Dr. Paul made some remarks, and the one that cut pretty deeply was, he said I should remember that he was not the one who killed the track program. Believe me, sir, I remember who killed the track program. Before I go much further, there are 4 individuals that are a very important part of my ascension to this position in your Hall of Fame, and I'd like to thank them. 4 people who are not here, unfortunately. One is a guy by the name of John Goodrich, who is the very successful track coach at Eastern Michigan University, where I think he's won 5 or 6 conference championships in cross-country in a row. The reason I bring John's name up is that when I was announced as the coach, now I can see people. When it was announced that I was going to be coaching here at CW Post, he was the first one who got in touch with me. He had competed against my Oceanside high school teams when he was at Calhoun. And he was happy that I was coming up here because he knew my records and so forth. And John did a great job of organizing all the guys that he knew on campus who had some background in track and field, which resulted in our 1968 bunch of scruffy guys being the first undefeated team in the history of the school. 1968 much of the reward or glory goes on John Goodrich's shoulders, and so he's not here. John's son, Kyle, is a major in the Army, and he's leaving this week for Afghanistan, unfortunately. So John is at home spending quality time with his son before he gets shipped overseas. Someone else who's not here who I'd like to thank is a gentleman by the name of Al Dawson, who unfortunately was killed in a crazy coaching situation got hit in the head with a shot put while I was working with a local high school team and was killed. And Al was my assistant for a number of years and a very important part of all of our success with our weight programs, shot putters, hammer throwers, and so forth. And Al will always be remembered, and I'm sure guys who worked with Al have very fond memories of Al. Another guy who's an important part of our program was mentioned earlier, who is very, very ill, and it's Al Venturino. Washed an awful lot of socks and jocks for us, and did a great job in running the field house. And my best wishes and good wishes go out to Al, and hope that he'll recover or whatever. The fourth person who's not here is a very important part of my team. My wife Ethel, who was very ill at home. Please excuse me. Couldn't make the trip. But the guys who are on our team know what an important part she was in everything that we did. The first thing I'd like to do is to ask all the guys in the room who were All-America for C.W. Rose College to please stand. There were 7 or 8 of the guys here, and there were many, many more. Who unfortunately are not here, but we remember them all well. We had a hell of a track team back then, people. Little C.W. Post College beat the Naval Academy twice in Cambridge. And it embarrassed the Naval Academy so badly that they tore up our contract for the next year and wouldn't let us come back down. We had a lot of great wins and a lot of great performances. In 2 years, in 1969, we finished 3rd in the NCAA National Championships, and in 1970, we finished 2nd at the NCAA National Championships. At the National Championships, on that particular day, we had 3 national champions, individual national champions. Joe Reversky, a shot putter, won the national championship in the discus, and Ron, what's his name? Stone, you know who he won the 3-mile and the 6-mile that day. After having won the national championship in cross country in an unbelievable performance in a suburb of Chicago where the temperature was 14 and there was 6 inches of snow on the ground. And Ron was unbelievable. Unfortunately, the next year, Ron was leading in defense of his national championship, stepped in a hole and broke a bone in his foot, which really messed up his career, because I really feel very strongly that had that not happened, Ron would have been on the 1972 Olympic team. I'd like to mention the fact that we won 2 Atlantis Coast College Division championships, and we beat everybody so badly that the 3rd year they discontinued the meet. We fought for 4 years to get into the Metropolitan Intercollegiate Conference, which is the primary important track and field conference in the metropolitan New York area, encompassing schools from New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, There are some 20-odd schools that belong to the Metropolitan Conference, and we tried for 3 years. We applied. They refused to accept us into the conference because they knew we would kick their ass if they let us in. And finally, after 3 years of trying to get into the conference, two gentlemen, two newspaper people, Frank Lipsky from the New York, Frank Lipsky from, I better stop. I'm not sure what newspaper he was with. And a guy by the name of Neil Amdor from the New York Times wrote blistering articles in their newspapers suggesting to the Met Conference people that the best team in the metropolitan area wasn't in their conference. And evidently the athletic directors then got together after that one, and we were voted into the conference, and sure enough, the first year we were in the conference, we kicked everybody's ass. And the second year, we were in the conference, we did the exact same thing. Unfortunately, we had a great team, and I keep saying unfortunately because that was my last season at Sealand Post College. The headline in the Newsday, a week after we won the Metropolitan Institute Conference for the second year in a row, the headline was, "The rewards at Sealand Post College are budget cuts." And that's exactly what happened. They placed me in a very embarrassing position because I had 3 outstanding recruits that we had signed contracts to for the following year, and I was called into the office of the athletic director, acting athletic director at that point in time, whose name conveniently escapes me. To tell me that all of the money that I had graduating was being removed from my budget, and I had to call up these 3 wonderful athletes and tell them that it was very unfortunate that there's been a mistake and I don't have the money to honor their scholarship commitments. But that was only part of it. He also removed 40% of our operating budget, and to be very, very blunt, 2 weeks later I resigned. And it's unfortunate because we had a program that was flying. We had great athletes and great teams, and but that's the way the ball bounces, I guess. There are a number of people sitting at this table right here in front of me, relatives and friends, and a number of CW Post toasties, which is kind of interesting. My son graduated from CW Post. My daughter attended here for a while. And 3 or 4 of my son's very close friends came here and honored us. One of my greatest athletes at Oceanside High School has honored me and is here as well. Steve Fleischer, another sailor. And I could probably spend the rest of the night here telling stories, but there are only 2 that I would like to tell. We were undefeated for 5 of the 6 years that I was the head coach here. We lost only 1 meet. We lost to Central Connecticut up in New Britain by 1 point. I'm going to embarrass Angie Rivatuso, but what the heck. Angie ran the mile and finished 4th and didn't score a point. Angie ran the steeplechase and finished 4th and didn't score a point. Angie ran the 2-mile and finished 4th and didn't score a point. And we lost by 1 point. Griffith, we don't blame it all on you, but I got even.
We all did that.
We got out to the team bus. We had dinner at the college. We got into the team bus, and we were about halfway back to campus when I decided that I better go to the back of the bus and rub Angelo's head a little bit because I knew that he felt terrible about not scoring a point. And when I got to the back of the bus, I says, "Where the hell is Angelo?" And somebody said, "Coach, I think we left him in the toilet." I said, "Oh my God, he must think I did it on purpose," and I really didn't. we just all got on the bus and we left. The fascinating part of that story is that when we got back to campus, Angie was standing by the main gate waving at the bus. He had walked outside the campus at Central Connecticut, stuck his thumb out in the air, and some guy stopped and says, "Where are you going?" He says, "I'm going to Long Island to see what bus." The guy says, "Hop in, I'm going right past there." So he beat us back to campus. It was the only win of the day in July. I want to tell just one more good story, if I may. And I'm going to mess up the year. I think it might have been 71, but I'm not 100% positive. We had a gentleman by the name of Bill Grauer, who was our conference champion in shot put, and had qualified to go to the national championships. I believe it was in Ohio. And 2 weeks before the national championship, unfortunately, Billy broke his wrist in the weight room on his throwing hand. He was put into a cast by Mr. Venturino, I believe, and was obviously not going to be able to participate at the national championships, where he was one of the favorites to do really well and earn All-American status. And Billy asked me if he could come along, and I says, "Bill, I already bought the plane tickets. By all means, come on along. You can be my #1 assistant or cheerleader or whatever." The night before the shot put was to be conducted, Billy came into my room with some kind of a crazy scissor. He said, "Coach, cut the cast off." I said, "What?" He said, "I'm going to throw tomorrow." I says, "Billy, you got a broken wrist. There's no way you're going to throw tomorrow." He says, "Coach, I worked 4 years to try and make All-American. Don't stop me now." I says, "I'm not stopping you. Your wrist is stopping you." At any rate, I cut the cast off. Billy spent the night crying and moving his wrist because it was so stiff that he couldn't do anything with it. Before the shot put competition started, Bill came over to me with a big roll of tape. He says, "Coach, take my wrist as tight as you can." Dumb that I am, I did it. Billy's turn was up. He got into the circle, tried to make his first throw, threw the ball about 35 feet and screamed in pain. I'll never forget it. He says, "Coach, you made the tape tight enough." I says, "I'm cutting off your circulation now. If it only stays on for a minute, it doesn't make any difference." Well, I taped his wrist again, harder, if that's possible. He got in the circle, he made a throw, and he qualified, believe it or not, 8th to get into the final. Unbelievable. Screaming, of course, in pain. If I remember correctly, he didn't take his third throw because he just wanted to rest and recuperate for the final. He was the first thrower in the final. I taped his wrist again. If I remember correctly, Billy had thrown about 56 feet during the season. And he taped his wrist. He got into the circle, and incidentally, he warmed up by running all over the place like a nut, trying to get himself loose and stretching and so forth. He got into the circle, and he threw again, and he had a throw of about 54 feet, which moved him up into 4th place. The story gets kind of weird here. Thunder and lightning and the worst rainstorm in the history of the national championships. The shot put circle flooded. Nobody else could throw well because the place was so wet. Billy ended up 4th, All-American. Yeah.